Countdown to the Cross. This is the second of 5 teachings in this special Holy Week series. And today I'm calling the teaching, I Wash My Hands. And we're going to continue to see how amazing God really is, and that He can take any situation and He can use it for His glory. Do you know that God can use any person, and believe it or not, even if they're wicked, and even if they're unaware of how God is using them? Today's teaching is a perfect example of this. Now, we know that when Jesus entered Jerusalem after the triumphant entry, that He was subject to great interrogation, first of all by the Pharisees, the Sadducees, as well as a lot of the other religious leaders. Now, this is in line with what happened to the Passover lambs as well. The priest would reveal his decision as to which lamb had been chosen, and now it was up to the people to inspect the lamb to ensure its flawlessness so that it could be sacrificed on their behalf. And so the high priest would select a lamb to die on behalf of the nation. But then a father would also select a lamb to die on behalf of his own personal household. And often the father, he would take the lamb and tie it to a stake outside the front of the home or to the city gate so that everyone in the town had an opportunity to inspect his choice. You had to be absolutely sure that the lamb was flawless, meticulous, or else the sacrifice wouldn't be successful. You had to make sure the lamb had no spots, there was no blemish. You had to confirm there were no broken bones or deformities whatsoever. And then once the community had the chance to inspect the lamb and declare it to be without fault, then it would be handed over to be sacrificed. Now, this is very interesting. It's very key, actually. The father would wash his hands before picking up the lamb because he had to ensure that he was clean so that he wouldn't defile the animal. And then he would hand the lamb over to be sacrificed. Now, I know that some of you can already see where this is going, but stay with me. We know that during that final week of Jesus' life, He was under constant scrutiny, and once the Sanhedrin had decided to turn Jesus over to the Romans, there was no turning back. A decision was going to have to be made. And so first He's brought to Pontius Pilate to determine his guilt or his innocence. And after this initial interview, Pilate couldn't make a decision on Jesus, so he sends him off to King Herod. And Herod dismisses Jesus as a zealot, but he's not a criminal, and he's certainly not worthy of death. So Jesus is brought back to Pontius Pilate. And after an intense conversation, Pilate declares that he can find no fault with Jesus. He washes his hands and he hands him over to be sacrificed. And here it is in Matthew 27:24. When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. I am innocent of this man's blood. And he said, it's your responsibility. And this is precisely what the culture expected of their Passover lamb. Without knowing it, He helped fulfill the prophecy and the protocol of the Passover lamb. He handed over the lamb and He said, I can find no fault with this man. Again, we see how God can use any situation or any person for His glory. Friends, make sure you join me again tomorrow as we continue our journey and our countdown to the cross.